Okay, I hereby call this meeting to order, the special city council workshop. What we'll do is we'll stand up and do the flag salute, we'll do the pledge of allegiance. Ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll do a roll call, look around, we are all present.
It's a great roll call.
Right, Thanks. Reports, correspondences, and discussion, City of Boardman Charter of 1985. Mr. Anderson.
All right. So the thought is, if you'll just go to that first page. So that is a general, obviously, we don't have to follow all the meetings. Again, that is the time frame. The goal is to have it ready by August 27th. So there is no rush. I mean, we really can go into it, look at the language. The concept with the language is, it's gonna go to the attorneys anyway. The LOC model has been adopted regardless, but if there's anything in between, well, we can double check on that. My thought was, if anyone had something already, like, yep, I looked through this, I wanna go to section whatever, can we investigate that? Was there anything that stood out?
I like how it just cleaned everything up and made it consistent with the state. That's what I did.
Okay.
I didn't see anything that was.
I think I got the wrong idea here. So are we not supposed to pick which one we liked out of both of those?
That is,
Oh, that is what we're supposed to do. Okay.
So if you wanted to, so that would be your input.
yep. And then, yeah, and are there some areas that stand out on some?
No, I just went through the whole thing and picked which one I liked better.
Great.
That's what we're supposed to do.
Way to go. Did anyone else do that, like Ethan?
But I like the LLC.
So, sir.
So did you go through the entire thing?
Yeah, that's like.
And so did you pick anything that wasn't in the dark shaded area? That came from the old one?
Yeah, I picked a lot of those from the old one.
That you wanted to keep?
That I like the wording better than the new one. Personally.
Okay, so I think
That would
that's
be-
what
that's what
the
was-
discussion.
That's what we're
Yep.
discussion.
Oh, I like that. Let's,
Page one.
Preamble.
what is that from? No, who's the radio guy?
Well, no, and the rest of the story.
Yeah.
Oh, Paul Harvey.
Paul Harvey.
Didn't
I
he
wanted to
say-
say Walter Cronkite, knew that wasn't right.
Sorry, that's distracting. Okay, okay, so yeah, we'll go into just the preamble then. Ethan, was there one?
You just want me to read off what I got or?
I mean, yeah, I mean, the preamble, did you like the preamble or the LOC?
The preamble, I like the LLC.
Okay, did anyone have any different, again,
I like the LLC model, it seems, it cleans it up,
And-
we don't
and
have to
that's-
say city of Boardman, like, it seemed like there's just an extra wording in there.
okay? And again, the justification is it just cleans it up. Cool. The section 1. And Ethan, I'll just. You'll be the discussion one, that's fine, because you have gone through it.
All right, I like the blue one on that one, the way it is, just the wording on that one was a little bit better to me than looking the wording around. The changing it to 2024.
Okay.
The year will change though, right?
Yeah.
Just making sure.
So do people know what enactment means?
I was curious about that too, because there was.
I do.
I thought it was more simpler by saying this charter may be referred to as, that's why I liked it. The language to me was clear, the other one was.
Because you're right, not everybody knows what enactment means.
And again, yeah, that's the whole point of the discussion,
What this honestly seemed like is it took law terms and put it into plain English.
You're right, it was a lot
The
more, a
LOC.
lawyer wrote this and made up.
It was, I don't know what the word is, I'm looking for, not simpler language, but,
It is just simpler language. Like, there's a
it's
bunch of.
more language, easier to understand.
It is, agreed, but.
And that's kind of why I like it. A lot of the LOC model was, it's what our, everyday citizen might be able to
Or something.
understand.
It's
So
about
instead of lawyer-y.
So we're gonna go with
plain English.
the one from LLC.
Yeah, I think the LOC on that one was.
Mark that, go down, I'll see.
Okay, perfect.
Section 3, boundaries.
Section
I like
two,
LLC.
Oh, sorry.
okay,
Section 3.
section
Yep.
two.
It just-
Section 2,
I like the LLC model
Because it
too.
takes out the word shall.
Well,
That's what it did, the city of.
well, and we
It's
don't
got
need to add
Wall
Wall County. I think
Oh, okay,
You know, that,
by saying city of Boardman, Oregon, I think that makes more sense. Versus the city of Boardman, Laurel County.
Now, if we were at, John Day, there's 2 John Days in Oregon.
no, what was your thought, Karen?
We might have.
Ohio,
Yeah,
Yes, but it does say
but-
Oregon.
and it does have moral though in it, so it makes no difference. I mean, Ohio also has moral.
Does it really?
It has a city of Morrow and it has a city of Boardman.
Yeah, they do have a. board.
Oh, really?
If you look up.
You haven't
Morrow
gotten
County
any
School
calls from
District,
Boardman, Ohio yet?
One.
there's one in,
All the time.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's fine.
it can throw you off.
Okay, so, LOC model,
Yes.
yes, okay. Section 3,
going with the LLC model.
I would be LLC model.
Me too.
okay. Section 4,
I went with the LLC model.
Yeah, I just,
That impliedly though, that's kind of an awkward turn of phrase.
Mhm.
okay.
Well, let's see.
just
LLC,
took that off out of
And
it.
again, there's nothing here that, I mean, it's just,
we're comparing the two.
correct, I mean, it's just jargon. Nothing that's changing. Okay, section 5. Sorry, section 5, the first one, construction and starting.
I did LLC on that.
Mhm. And it looks like we probably need to add the second section, the LOC model.
LLC model, we played through that too.
And
So-
okay, sorry.
Is that, so the LLC model down here where we don't currently have one? Is that,
Is that correct?
That is correct.
so is that like, this is what they're recommending we put in place of that?
Yeah, nothing.
Okay, deal.
We should probably go with that then.
And then, again, Amanda, but now it goes back to the, what's under 2 or it stays under 5?
So it would stay under 5, so it's section 5,
Okay, 5.1.
yeah.
Or 5.2.
Now, something that I did not, so because it says section 2.3 on it in the LOC model, it has a different title page, so the table of contents, that's the word I'm looking for. So the table of contents is different, but the wording is specifically what we were looking for.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah, there are places that they didn't copy the sections over correctly.
Okay, next page, page 5.
LLC model.
It
So,
clarifies it.
yes, I was gonna say, it's- the other one's too vague.
Okay, general powers and duties, perfect. Section 7,
I personally said the current one, and I'm trying to remember what, but
is council consists of the mayor and its nominee. So all it is 7,
Seven.
At
this
large.
doesn't say out large.
and it's,
It also doesn't have
oh, at
nominated.
large, perfect.
It also doesn't have nominated and talked about.
Oh, that's what it was. So nominated, I didn't like the word
It should
nominated.
be
given that.
appointed. Because we don't ever nominate, but we appoint.
And it's 6, I mean, they're elected, everyone's
It's
elected.
elected.
Yeah. So the first.
Would be
one should
appointed.
nominated.
Yeah, I was thinking that we should put both in there, appointed and elected, because we have both.
But like, I mean, appointed, the city at large doesn't appoint. The council appoints.
Right.
Correct, but the instances of someone stepping down and then being appointed, that's true. I mean, that happens.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Frequently.
But just in the wording here, that doesn't make any sense. So
Oh,
if you threw if you threw appointed in there, that's the city is appointing. The city is now appointing the.
oh,
the
yeah.
city at large is appointing.
But isn't this on how the council is created? That's what I was thinking. This is how our council is created in the city of Boardman. We have a mayor and 6 councilors who
Elected.
have to be nominated, which I don't know if nominated is right, where they have to apply and then have to be elected by the city at large. That's what I was interpreting that as, on how this group or this body is elected or created by the city of Boardman. Whether that is the right word or not, I thought, to me, that's what that was trying to say. No, I didn't.
That's why I chose the one that's currently in there, because it eliminated nominated. Just went.
Yeah,
like from the city.
And then you're saying keep our current one, but then add at large from the city at large?
No,
I didn't
I
say
think we
that.
just keep this current one.
If that's what we agreed on how our government body is organized, I think the current city model explains it very well.
is this the spot that we would want to say? One could be from the 97818 at large.
Oh, nice.
Not for city council. I don't think we want a city council. I don't think we want somebody
That's
that
just-
large on the city council.
Okay, I just am asking.
However, if we wanted, that would be the planning committee. Planning committee?
No, you're asking to change it.
I'm asking
If this is the place.
if we want to change it and allow somebody. from
Oh, if that is what we wanted to do,
Is
yes,
this
I
the
think. that
place?
was
Because I
the
haven't
place.
read all the way down.
Because it would make sense to have at least one counselor that's outside the city limits.
Why?
Well, because they do it on the planning commission, that way it's kind of all encompassing.
Yeah, but they all play county taxes.
I think that it's okay with being just a city resident. I think that where we need to change, it would be as if like the city manager could live in the 9781. He doesn't have to live in the city limits.
So that is brought up later. In the.
And that's,
It does.
yeah,
And I know at first when I moved here, I was like, ew, I know
Yeah.
there's a house. The more I talk around, in city doesn't make sense. There, because from what I gather, there's a couple that I've talked to and they're pretty strong, like, no, it needs to be within the city.
yeah, well, if you get water here.
Right. No, there was something, I disagreed at first.
Yeah, okay.
You got shut down.
You are being recorded. That's why I'm making sure I'm not speaking out of turn.
Okay, so we're going with the original, sorry.
Okay,
Okay.
Trying there, Ms. Prophet.
Well, I'll do a better job now that there's a standard.
Council, section 8, council members.
I
I hope you don't
went
tease.
with the original on that one as well, but. It just kind of made it a little bit more clarified on that one.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh.
Yes, I like the original one too.
So the only
We're in
thing,
E just a little awkward
On which one?
on the ours, section 8.
Well, it's in the next one too, but the one in the next, in the LLC, it doesn't make sense because it says at each general election after the adoption. 3 councilors will be elected for a 4-year term. Maybe that's right. There's something else.
And then the bottom part
In ours, it says shall continue in office each until the end of his similar term of office. It will look awkward.
Well, I think the reason it's awkward is because they're trying to explain that they have to be alternate, 3, 3, and 4.
and again, the main thing about the current one is it separates, so there's not the crossover, you're having a counselor, I believe that's.
I think that's what they're trying to say with that language.
well, don't we have, if I'm appointed to fill somebody's term, I have to run the next time so here's the question. Do I run the next election or do I run when their term was up and I have to run
When
with
their
them?
term is up.
And then that states.
So what does it say?
It should
Yeah.
be in there.
That's in here further.
Because I do want to have this
But
discussion.
it does start it here where it is mentioning that, that's why there's only three of us that would run for election at a time.
Right, but yeah, but in a general, yes, this is how we do it, but in
Yeah.
those circumstances, no, so we keep with again, all of this has to be vetted to make sure that there's no language that's not, but you want to go with the original then? Current,
Oh, you,
is that okay? Yeah? Christina, did you say?
I mean, I kind of like the LOC. I kind of like the wording, but I'm fine with the old one, the one we have.
Okay. And is anyone really set, like, hey, I really want the LOC? No?
Nope.
No?
No, I can work with you.
They both explain the same thing, so.
Okay, so we'll go with the original. Okay? Section 9.
I think the LLC version.
yes,
Mhm.
So we go on LOC there?
Yeah.
It's kind of wordy, but
It is, isn't it? Okay, yeah. Is there any? Nothing?
we can sound like we're doing. with that.
I think that the LOC one doesn't take into account that this was brought in
Correct.
1985 with the 1988 date. So it'll mean the same thing either way.
Correct.
This one was just very specific.
Do we want to change 1988 to a different date?
1975.
I mean, in the beginning of 19, do we want to, I mean, the Bible starts within the beginning. I mean, we are gonna go with 2024, right?
No, I think we're doing LOC. LOC on
No,
that one?
because you're not elected in 2024. So the whole purpose of this was to make sure that your election was opposite three other
Right.
ones.
So what date are we looking to put there?
None. We'll just keep the
Not good.
optimum.
Oh, I thought you guys were going with the top one. Oh, okay, yeah, go on.
Okay,
LOC didn't have a model for
I
section
know
10.
that,
So I went for the original on this one.
Slam dunk.
so,
But I don't think
Well,
we
you
need
would
to
think
have
it
a
would be,
municipal judge.
but there's some dispute.
Do we want to take something out that was not in there? Will we have a municipal judge sometime? I mean, do we have,
you never know.
I was gonna say, you probably wanna have that language in there because maybe 20, 30 years down the road, you don't wanna have to try and make another change again. I mean.
well, I
better
don't,
leave it in
hopefully
there.
we won't have this go for 20 years.
But you know what I'm saying?
At least no.
But I know that, yeah,
So,
It's just nearly
Is
about
it-
40.
But it's essentially saying that the council can appoint, like the city recorder, which is not accurate, right?
Correct. And there was,
we,
but it does say may appoint, it does say may appoint, right? Not-
But that was,
We're supposed to hire.
that
the
was
city
because there was a dispute.
give
She
some language
requested-
in there that tells us what our responsibilities are later on.
but there is something that does say that you guys have fit, you're the ones who hire the recorder, you are the ones that hire the attorney.
The city manager and the judge.
Yeah.
If there were.
Yeah.
Well, but it does say may appoint, it doesn't say like appoint, like, so you have the, I guess when I read may, it means you have the option.
And I would assume that comes out. Are you okay if I put a question mark on it and see if it comes out? Cool. Okay. Next one, 11. Do we want to go LOC?
I went LLC.
I like LOC.
Yes, it's more.
Oh,
Mhm.
I thought, where's the part that you guys get paid?
It's not in this section.
I think we added.
I'll-
It's new.
Okay, so explain. The council wants to authorize the compensation of city officers and employees as part of its approval of the city, the council. System, the council by resolution will determine the rules.
I didn't understand that system part, that was,
Jack,
because that's,
I don't think that's the way it's been.
No,
Maybe it's like that in other.
So you
cities,
know that-
that's
It is,
why
and
it is it.
it's-
So they
it's
can-
every year, with the listing of minimums and maximums on positions.
to me, that seems like the city manager.
I think that too. I mean, that's like,
And if we don't like what the city manager does, then that comes in evaluation.
correct.
But this is a okay, here, I'm having a question about the budget.
Okay.
If that is my only control over you, and I'm not allowed to be any part of the budget preparation, and I don't see the budget until the night we come to budget meeting, how does that work for me? And maybe that's what they're trying to figure out here. I don't know.
Well, this, to me, is more of like, when we're gonna do hiring,
Yeah, I don't want to know that.
I know, and then the suspension, layoff, transfer,
Dismissal,
yeah, I mean, that
that,
seems.
that, to me, I feel like I'm overstepping my bounds.
I think the dismissal, maybe I don't think we should have a say in it, but I think there should be a report. Oh, we got so and so and
Absolutely,
off the
absolutely.
rails.
Yep. Some kind of communication, yes.
Yeah.
I am not in favor of the merit system being in there.
Well, and even
That
the
to me doesn't make
the
sense.
compensation, the council must authorize the compensation, so you guys are gonna set the salaries?
No, well, I don't know. Usually I came in and I would say, well, I gave everybody a 3% raise, and you go, yes, that's fine. I don't know.
I think,
Should have
I think
been.
we did an executive session.
Yes, yeah.
And then, and the council also approves the charter or the
They didn't know how much everybody was making. They just knew.
not the budget, but the,
Union contract.
thank you, the contract.
The Teamsters.
I mean, that's what this looks like. For city officers, but we
We
don't.
didn't actually get to see any contracts, but when Karen would do the report, we would have an executive session. And I don't wanna say too much, because it was an executive session. But we went back and she gave us a report of what the negotiations had looked like. If they were still in the negotiations, and this is what their side wanted, this is what her side wanted. And then where she was going to have a meet in the middle kind of thing happen.
And is it signed off by,
We didn't sign
Karen?
anything.
there was not the, so the city manager does? I think, can I put a
But
question?
that's
Yes,
pretty
I think
different
you
now that there's a union.
Well, there isn't any.
So if there's a
yeah, yeah.
union, so now there's gotta be when there's no union, the city manager has, as far as I'm concerned, has full control of what they want, of what she wants to pay, or he wants to pay. But when there's a union involved, now the board has to be involved, in my opinion.
In the end, correct,
Yes,
Yes,
yeah.
and there has to. Well, maybe I shouldn't shoot my mouth.
Actually, the council does ratify the union contract, they take official action at a council meeting.
correct.
Yeah, okay.
And so that's what I'm trying to think, is that what it's trying to get at, is the council must
We
authorize
have.
the compensation of city officers. I don't know if it's employees,
I know. so
and
what is
who's the
city
word for
officer?
city officers.
Correct. I'll put a question mark, I'll put a
I
mark.
think there needs to be better language.
Yeah, because that could be just department heads.
Correct. Or is the city officer?
It does say, when I look at it closely, it says, the rules governing those areas. So it would be more so, I think, if not necessarily the detail, like we would be doing the negotiations on the contracts, but what you're able to offer, based on what we have passed.
Oh.
That's how I read it after I looked at it a little bit
This
closer.
part right here,
Oh, the annual city budget. Yeah, the merit system. All right, I'll get more information on
you have a question mark on that too.
it. Okay, 12, okay. This is the part where you would put it, Karen. Is if we wanted to go 97818, it'd go right in there.
No, we're not doing that.
But I'm just saying that I believe that's the part.
As far as for city council goes.
Correct. What's B? No person may be a candidate of a single
Election.
for more
More
than.
than on city office. So you
Right.
don't want
You can counselor and mayor at the same time.
Oh,
You got to give up one.
or you don't want to be a city councilor in two cities.
and it's now C. I thought there was something with C.
I wanted to work here, I couldn't be a mayor.
Like, you couldn't be an employee and work, be on the council. So
Because
Tony,
you're gonna be
so for
privy to
example,
information.
Tony, Connell was on the council, and she took a job as the clerk in and had to get the bird to see on the council.
Okay,
I think it eliminates,
we,
Any conflict of interest.
Well, because you're gonna be privy to information that your other employees aren't gonna.
however, it's not an ethics violation if you are an employee and on the council.
No, but the thing I think that is the hiccup is if you're on the council, you are the supervisor to the city manager. And the city manager supervises all of the employees.
But it's not an ethics violation, we found that out.
I'm not saying it is. What I'm saying is you can't supervise your own boss. You can't have authority over your boss if your boss has ultimate authority over you. So it's like.
I get that, but according to the ethics commission, they said that you can do that.
I don't think it's an ethics. I'm not talking ethics.
We're trying to figure out who's gonna be in charge. We don't care what that.
Well, I'm just referring to when you were elected city council and you were on the city council and you were.
And
city
that's
council.
why I've had to resign.
But the ethics commission said you didn't have to.
No, that she could
Yeah.
run. She could run for the position.
No,
no, I thought.
she could
Right?
do
I think so.
both.
Oh, both.
According to the letter from the ethics commission,
She could do
she
both.
could do both.
About running.
That's like, so unless a board, so we put language in there that says you can't. So that's what stops that. But if we didn't have that that
She would turn on a lot.
she could do that.
So do you see,
Cause I brought up like being on the school board and being a teacher. If they didn't have language like that says you can't be an employee, I could run for a school board position and being a teacher. They have to have language in there that says I can't. Because according to the ethics commission, you can't.
correct, and I thought that that was the case. So if you look at the
But
current.
that makes sense to you, Brenda. Whether it's right or wrong, that's why we went to the ethics commission on that to find out.
Which they allowed it.
So is ethics the only thing governing us?
But it sounds like our charter would not have allowed it.
No, we're not gonna allow it.
Our
Correct.
charter didn't allow
Right.
it. And all I'm saying is that, for ethics, whatever about ethics.
Okay.
If you're the clerk or the building building official, and you serve on the city council, you can't have voting power over your boss. I think that's where I'm having the hiccup. I feel
Well, that was
like
why
that's a dichotomy of power.
Correct.
That shouldn't exist.
And if you,
So what's the wording?
Oh, yeah, I don't go.
I like LLC.
Yeah,
Well,
LLC,
The first one
yeah.
doesn't. say-
So we're talking about what,
It says you
yeah.
can run,
LLC
as long as you're.
says you can't do it, so we don't have to worry
It
about it.
doesn't have any clarification about whether or not you're a city employee or not.
Exactly.
The first one doesn't.
the old model allows it. It says the council.
Because Brenda, we had that qualifications. That was our concern.
Okay.
Okay, now,
We were told.
So we like
Lawyer
LLC, so
and-
we're gonna go on to the next page?
yeah. Okay, good.
That was what was goofy about that. Glad we had that letter in our
And
portfolio.
the charter is what the city rules that we run our city by.
So you got-
The ethics commission is just when somebody out there thinks we're not doing it right.
And so they evaluate all our information to say whether we're following it or not.
And they probably looked at our old thing and said, well, it says, well, it's allowable, and that's probably why they said it's okay.
Right, this is a clear
That's
hard
probably
pass,
why,
like,
yeah, it's probably why.
yeah.
So it would not fly.
Yes.
Now that we're changing it,
Yes.
it's not going to.
The meetings.
I said LLC, I'm not LLC. And the reason for that was the one that currently says that it must be held in the city limits, must be held in the city at a time and place. We put in our rules that it could possibly be somewhere else.
And it allows that designated by its rules.
I like the LOC model. I do.
Okay.
It's briefer.
Yes. Okay, quorum.
I put LLC, I don't know.
So,
And I assume we have the section 7.9.
Mhm.
Again, don't know that I paid attention to specific sections.
it just says section 7.
So is this where we talk about, that you must attend meetings in person?
No, that's coming up there. It doesn't actually say you have to attend in person, it just says you have to attend within
Correct.
period of like 90 days or something.
Yeah, because
You could add that in, but
we didn't have,
there was something I was looking to change on that too.
I don't think people should start deciding, if you're on the council, that you can start attending the meetings by Zoom. That if you're not interested in being on the council, that you need to show up and be here.
Where, I mean, the quorum is quorum proceedings.
this is talking about quorum.
And
What
I'm
makes it
looking to
quorum?
see, because I don't even see anything after. Did you see anything after?
About,
Just that attendance?
yeah, there was something about.
Yeah, you missed three.
Ours currently says we missed 3 councils.
And what section is that?
Farther down here, what it is there.
Yeah, we have a.
You only have like 3 pages. It's not very many though.
No, I mean, if you wanna.
I like the LLC model on that one, just because I think it's more clear.
Mhm.
We would just have to look at the
We just have to look at the section.
7.9.
Question mark.
Okay.
So what is compel attendance of absent members as prescribed in council rules?
Right.
Oh,
A smaller number may meet and compel attendance of absent members as prescribed by council rules.
and our council rules doesn't have anything about attendance. The only thing we have about attendance is you approve it, right? You inform us, but you approve the excuse for not attending. It doesn't.
I think what this means is, this is just my interpretation, smaller number may meet and compel attendance. So what that tells me is maybe somebody is choosing to be absent on purpose. And we can meet to try and get them to show up. Like maybe there's a conflict, I don't know, I mean, that's how I.
In the event of a
When
vacancy
it-
due to a
it
resignation
says
or other
compel.
events.
Compel attendance, which means we're trying to convince them to come, is what I gather from that,
Or force.
or force them to come,
Yeah,
because
It's an interesting way to. put that
that's how
way
I interpret that, so.
For a quorum. I mean, the first sentence is what it's talking about. A majority of the council members is a quorum to conduct business. All the other stuff is if people aren't going, it's kind of.
Because if somebody doesn't look, maybe 2 council members agree on something, the other, or no,
And they're
and
walking.
they just don't show up, you don't have quorum, you can't vote on it. I mean, they do it in the Senate and House of Representatives all the time, we just don't show up, so we can't vote.
I think it has happened to us a few times where, either because of resignation, and then somebody was out sick. It was like, do we have quorum? You know, like it was, we had different situations like that. We had, some situations where, we were trying to make a decision and I think there was a couple council members on Zoom and they didn't quite feel like they had all of the information to make that decision. It's just, we've had a lot of different situations that have come up where it's like, do we have quorum to be able to vote?
Well,
So
that's-
I think that language is in there for those purposes.
And that's funny. I'd love to see the 7.9.
That'd be interesting, because I like the idea that we were, because the last sentence, The quorum is reduced according solely for the purpose to make necessary appointments to reach the required quorum as outlined. So you're doing what you need to do to get a required quorum when you have those situations arise. So that gives you the leg out to be able to, if you have a situation that arises where you can't get a quorum for whatever reason, this allows you to make special accommodations.
Baker is finding out what happens when your entire council
Correct.
resigns. The county commission appoints a quorum. And that quorum selects the balance.
That's interesting.
So it is, I mean, I don't, and this is just mine, I mean, you keep the first sentence, you take out the, in the event of an absence, a smaller number may meet and compel it attendance. That's an interesting concept. To go, hey, let's get together, we're gonna go.
Well, it's really hard to
Yeah.
make a decision.
We're gonna go to their house and
Exactly.
adjourn the
We
meeting.
don't know what 7.9 specifically says.
Correct, but if you were to take the smaller number out, but then that last sentence is, hey, if someone's gone vacancy, resignation, hey, we're gonna reduce it based on those special circumstances.
Which will be outlined in
Yeah.
7.9.
Yeah, so like when Heather and I were appointed, so there was two vacancies. And I think that question had come up, is there quorum for us to be able to appoint them? And it was determined that yes, but you know, like situations like that where.
Yep.
So-
Wording.
In our rules that we just did, we put in there was 1 plus, or
Half plus one,
half plus one. So if you have less than 3, now something has to happen.
correct, and then this will allow for those special circumstances, yeah,
Mhm.
okay, are you okay if I take out the compelling?
Well, so before you do that,
In the very first one, it says
Yeah, I was gonna
compelled
say-
as well.
in the original, it's in there, it's
Says compelled
the
as well.
exact same verbiage.
And I think that's probably the reason why they left it, was because that's probably language that's in a lot of different ones. Because this issue has probably came up.
I don't
So I
change
think,
it.
I think that,
Okay.
I just don't want to be.
I'm resistant to a change other than I'm not ready to make a decision on because I don't know what 7.9 says.
Well, and I don't really know what that even means.
That's what, 7.9?
No, a smaller number may meet and compel the attendance. I don't know if that means that your quorum is your half plus one, and they just meet and do business, and that you either show up and participate, or you don't participate.
I think the
I don't know if
tricky
that's
part
what
is we
you're
don't have all the information.
Correct.
Because I think there's two pieces that we gotta, and that's why I said, put a question mark. I can deal with the second half, but I think we have to have that other piece to make an informed decision. That's why I think question mark.
Are we gonna question that one?
I did. Yep,
Okay, got it.
okay, record of proceedings.
LLC model.
I'll
Just
take-
because the way we record stuff has changed, obviously, since 1985, or
Correct.
Well, and I like how they've included in here and the laws of the state of Oregon.
Yeah.
That needs to be included.
I'm gonna question the 16 too. Because we didn't have one. Okay, 17,
I put a little seat for that one.
what's the one that's last?
I like the LLC model on that one too. I think with some of these rules have possibly changed, or there's been newer things that you have to add, so.
Perfect. Is that good? We'll see.
Yeah, it's very clear.
And he didn't gain anything, did he?
No.
No, because
Sorry,
yeah.
man.
Yeah. Don't get
I think you just clarify, I think you just clarify.
Should we look at taking away?
Oh, wow.
That's where we review that.
Yeah, that's where we take away power from there.
I don't,
Do we
have
have-
councilman, special duties.
So why,
So this is the LOC model that, that Jack just pulled up, 7.9 right there.
so we don't have any of that.
We should probably add that.
It, might be in the
So,
vacancy
on the next page.
section
Thank you.
further down because there is a vacancy.
So is this above it, is that not part of 7.9?
So,
on 7.8.
so there's 7.8, which is vacancy, and when you get back into page 12, we get into the vacancy. So,
That's interesting, because can you,
yeah, page 12 is where we start the vacancy conversation. Which
Oh,
would
is
make
that-
sense,
is that right up above that?
yes.
Issues warrant?
What are we looking for?
I'm just curious where that's.
So go back to like 7.8,
7.8, okay.
please. So like I said, this table of contents is different than ours. So,
We need to look at ours? Is that what you're trying to figure out? No.
no. No, they're just in a different order.
Oh, and it's just written. So that is 7.8 and then 7.9.
Wow, absence from the city for 30 days without council's approval. Don't be thinking you're going to Europe.
Okay. So where would you put, do we have, oh, filling vacancies is 30.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's our 7.9. So in
Yeah.
that, where I'm questioning 7.9, it really is 30. If you want to fill it up with that. Page 12.
Interesting.
All the stuff, that's right.
And you're gonna be running 650.
We might, yeah, probably just 7. We like the 10 minutes. So what number are we on?
8 to 7.
I'm saying, on page 7, the 7.9 that we had a question is on the, well, so.
I just get that's looking at that.
Are we reading that?
No, I. But we're on section 18, right?
Okay,
Yes.
sorry,
I like the LOC model.
Council President, and that's what we have, right, Jackie?
I'm sorry.
In our council rules, we have council president, right? Isn't that what we put?
Yeah.
We took out chair. I know there was,
Yeah, and then once a year, I think we redo it in January.
all right, so.
I did like the last sentence on our version though, because, that leaves room just in case.
Great point. It doesn't have anything about that.
Oh, then we just add that.
Yep, do you want to add that?
Yeah.
Perfect. In the absence of both mayor, right? Move that down there.
Not saying that's ever gonna happen, but just in case.
No, that's good. Do you see that in the window? Cool. Okay, 19.
Like the majority of the quorum. I think our charter says when this charter requires approval by the majority of the council.
Yes. A little more clear on the LOC.
Yes.
It goes with the other one we spent 10 minutes talking about.
LOC on 19.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
That's majority.
And on something called rules, which doesn't have a section,
Councilman's, whatever. Did we put that somewhere else?
adopt rules to
It's not in the
govern its rights.
charter.
It's not, I mean, it's,
It might have been discussed somewhere else.
I feel like if they're,
It's in the other one, isn't it?
I thought it was. I like it a very,
if we don't have something, they recommend it, it's probably a good idea.
And I thought it's, our rules of our meetings was,
yeah, it was in the charter is why you do council rules. That's got to be somewhere. I'll put all right, we'll put it, I found someone, I'm gonna put a check there with the council rules. And I'll put a question mark just to see if it is somewhere in this. Okay.
So I think I like the LLC's municipal judge stuff better. We're gonna keep the municipal judge as a portion of what we, in our purview.
Are we hitting 20 and 21 first?
So
Oh.
did,
I just assumed we were keeping
did
it.
that, so if you look back,
I think that's already mentioned.
I thought it was too, in the mayor,
Mhm.
where it says the functions.
That's probably why they didn't add anything.
Mhm.
'Cause it's probably
The
unnecessary.
mayor presides,
Same thing with the
when it says the
21.
mayor appoints members of commissions and committees.
But according to the rules, in our rules, it's not that the mayor appoints with approval of the council.
And that's what that says too.
But then this one also goes on to say that he has no veto power.
Correct.
The
which
other
is
one I
already
think had
mentioned.
it too.
And that's.
And that's in our council rules as well.
Yeah.
The council president is actually section 18 of the charter. It's covered in the charter, not the council rules.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so we're not doing anything with section 20? Because we already have it, correct?
I think 21 is unnecessary too, because it's already mentioned who has to be at the meetings anyways in previous. It says a recorder shall attend.
In the book,
That's the one I didn't like, was in the book.
that was before computers.
Well, okay, but on the recorder shall attend all council meetings unless excused therefore. I think that, I thought we had a discussion about that the recorder needed to attend, not on Zoom, but needed to
Yes.
attend the meetings.
That's correct, and that's.
So what
we
does that say?
We need to amend that and say the city recorder will also attend council meetings, all council meetings and executive sessions. There's certain
With the
executive
exception
sessions
of
that
the
they
city
wouldn't.
manager's evaluation.
Should it, I think
Correct.
it states that somewhere.
Yeah, it does.
Does
I
it?
think it states it in there, but we're using the term recorder when I thought we had decided to go away from recorder to go to a city clerk.
Right, because the
So we
recorder,
Need to, yeah. We've had issues in the past with the recorder working under the council and the clerk
Correct.
working under the city manager. We
When they're
decided
one
to
and the
go
same
away from
person.
the recorder. We could use the term city clerk in this document. Because we already have a city clerk who does that.
I guess the question I would have is, when I think about why it wouldn't be included in the LLC is that if for some reason, you know, the city clerk or the recorder, whoever were unavailable, I think you would find somebody and say, I need you to fill in because what is stated earlier is that it needs to be recorded. I think that's the piece. And so I don't know that it necessarily needs to list who and that has to be here. to
Where
do
does
that.
it say it needs to be recorded?
Where it says, it has to be, Virginia and the Oregon state law as well.
Yeah,
The record of the community shall be kept in a manner prescribed by the council rules and the laws of the state of Oregon.
yes.
I think if you leave this in there, maybe, I guess, what I interpret is if the recorder can't show up, how can you hold a meeting?
But that's what I'm saying.
Because
I
we're
don't think,
saying that this recorder is a physical person, if they can't show up, even though technology has changed and we can still put the order we have. I think with this wording, it means that this person has to be here or you cannot have a legal meeting.
but,
Unless excused therefrom.
yes, but I think to me, it's just, you know, that's a responsibility, right? That it has to be recorded. Yes, we have a position and they have a job description, right? Where all of that is laid out, but I don't know that it necessarily has to be in here, that they will.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, is I think this wording means it's like we're making sure that somebody physically being there and really, they don't have to be anymore. Like, we have other abilities to record things. So as long as it's done,
Right.
Correct.
I guess that's what I mean.
So remove. So I'm hearing,
So are there no occasions when we get information from the city clerk at the meeting.
What do you mean?
Well, like, the finance director comes to our meetings and we ask her all kinds of pointed questions that maybe no one else can answer. And I know that Jackie's been doing this job a long time, so Jackie gives us information that's germane to our topic, helps us understand what we're doing.
Mhm.
So I don't know that we wanna say they don't have to attend.
But we're
I
not
feel like
saying
the
that they
city-
don't,
Yeah.
we're not saying that they don't have to.
The city clerk would still attend the meetings.
Correct.
Okay,
And again, that's in the job description, almost redundant here.
okay, so,
I guess my point is earlier when you talked about it's an appointed job by the council, the recorder's an appointed job by the council, maybe it needs to be clarified.
And where was that?
a
It's
couple
up
pages
there with the
back.
Judge and.
Yep,
Yeah.
and
Right,
the city
he's-
manager,
Yeah.
city
It does say.
and the city attorney.
Well, thank you for clarifying.
And that was a question.
That was a question mark you were gonna clarify.
It's page 5, you put a question mark on it,
Number 10.
number 10.
I do, question mark. I got it.
Yeah.
Cool. Are we okay to stop there? We got to page 9 of
We would start at section 22.
15.
But if you want to judge.
This is.
About halfway. And nobody else or?
All right, so, this, city council workshop is hereby adjourned.